Sure, here's a story inspired by the title you provided. The Unveiling Silence. Sophia had been married to Daniel for 5 years. Their marriage seemed perfect to everyone else, but beneath the surface, cracks had begun to form. Daniel, a diligent man, had recently landed a prestigious job at a high-profile firm. His boss, Adrian, was charismatic, wealthy, and exuded confidence, qualities that caught Sophia's attention in ways she didn't anticipate. Adrian first met Sophia at a company dinner Daniel had invited her to. She wore a navy blue dress that hugged her figure gracefully, and her laugh lit up the room. Adrian, always one to charm, found himself captivated. A casual conversation during dinner turned into lingering glances across the table. Daniel, oblivious, spoke highly of Adrian to Sophia after the dinner. "He's the reason I got this job," Daniel said, pouring wine into their glasses at home. "A true mentor." Sophia smiled, feeling a tinge of guilt for the way Adrian's eyes had burned into hers that evening. Weeks passed, and Adrian found subtle excuses to involve Sophia. He invited Daniel and her to charity galas, suggesting that Sophia's presence added elegance. He complimented her more boldly when Daniel wasn't looking. One evening, Adrian called Daniel to work late on a project. Knowing Sophia would be alone, he made his move. He stopped by her house with a bottle of wine, claiming he wanted to check on her. "Daniel's been working so hard. I feel partly responsible," Adrian said, setting the wine on the table. Sophia hesitated but invited him in. She tried to keep things casual, but the air between them grew heavy with unspoken tension. As the night deepened, Adrian leaned closer, his hand brushing against hers. "You deserve more than just being someone's afterthought, Sophia," he said softly. Her heart raced. She knew this was wrong, betraying Daniel, the man who trusted her implicitly. But Adrian's words touched a vulnerable part of her. The loneliness she had felt in her marriage overwhelmed her better judgment. What started as a forbidden kiss quickly escalated. That night, lines were crossed that couldn't be uncrossed. The affair continued in secrecy, wrapped in stolen moments and whispered lies. Sophia wrestled with guilt, but Adrian's magnetic pull made it impossible for her to walk away. Unbeknownst to them, Daniel began to notice small changes. A misplaced earring, Adrian's name mentioned with too much familiarity. Suspicion took root, and Daniel eventually uncovered the truth in the most painful way. A mistakenly sent text from Adrian to Sophia. Heartbroken and betrayed, Daniel confronted Sophia. Tears fell as she confessed, but her apologies couldn't undo the damage. This tale illustrates how deceit can unravel lives, leaving devastation in its wake. Let me know if you'd like me to explore another aspect or adjust the story. Daniel stood frozen, the damning text still glowing on his phone screen. His stomach churned as the reality of betrayal settled in. He couldn't reconcile the Sophia he loved with the one who had been meeting Adrian behind his back. He waited in silence for her to return home, the weight of the confrontation bearing down on him. When Sophia walked through the door, the tension in the room hit her like a wave. Daniel sat at the dining table, his phone resting in front of him. "What's wrong?" she asked cautiously, setting her purse on the counter. "Adrian texted you," he said flatly, sliding the phone toward her. Sophia's face went pale as she read the message. Asterisk, "Last night was unforgettable. I can't stop thinking about you." Asterisk, there was no point denying it. Tears welled in her eyes as she sank into a chair across from Daniel. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, her voice trembling. Daniel stared at her, his expression unreadable. "Why?" he finally asked. Sophia struggled for words. I felt invisible, Daniel. You've been so focused on work, on making a name for yourself. I felt neglected, and Adrian, he made me feel seen." Her words hit him like a sledgehammer, but they also lit a fire of anger. "Neglected? You think that justifies betraying me? You could have talked to me, Sophia. But no, you chose him. Asterisk, my boss, asterisk, of all people." Tears streamed down her face. I know I was wrong. I wasn't thinking, Daniel. It just happened, and I hate myself for it. Daniel laughed bitterly. It didn't just happen, Sophia. You made a choice. A series of choices. He stood, pacing the room as he tried to collect his thoughts. Do you have any idea what this means for me? For my career, Adrian isn't just my boss. He's my gateway to everything I've been working toward. Sophia bowed her head, guilt consuming her. I'll end it. I'll do whatever it takes to fix this. But Daniel wasn't sure if it could be fixed. The betrayal wasn't just personal. It had professional implications that could destroy him. The next day, Daniel requested a meeting with Adrian. Confronting him wasn't just about the affair. It was about reclaiming his dignity. Adrian greeted him with a smug expression, but it quickly faded when Daniel slammed the office door behind him. I know, Daniel said coldly. Adrian leaned back in his chair, trying to feign nonchalance. Know what? Don't play dumb, Daniel snapped. I know about you and Sophia. Adrian sighed, his mask slipping. Look, Daniel, it's not what you think. Spare me. Daniel cut him off. You think you can have everything, don't you? My wife, my loyalty, my silence. Well, you're wrong. Adrian smirked, regaining his composure. Careful, Daniel. You wouldn't want to burn bridges that could hurt your career. Daniel's hands clenched into fists. I'll find another job if I have to, but I'm not staying here and pretending everything's fine. And Sophia? She's done with you. Without waiting for a response, Daniel walked out, his mind racing. At home, he and Sophia had a long, painful discussion. Daniel didn't know if he could forgive her, but they agreed to attend counseling to see if their marriage could be salvaged. For Sophia, the road to redemption was steep. For Daniel, trust was a fragile thing, easily shattered and hard to rebuild. Adrian, meanwhile, found himself under scrutiny as rumors of the affair leaked, threatening his position of power. The fallout from the betrayal left scars, but it also brought clarity. For Daniel and Sophia, the journey ahead was uncertain, but it was a chance to confront the cracks in their relationship and decide whether they could find a way back to each other, or if they were better off letting go. Let me know if you'd like this story to take another turn, or dive deeper into the characters' emotions. The days following the confrontation were marked by an uneasy silence between Daniel and Sophia. Counseling began as a lifeline, but the sessions were raw and painful. Both of them were forced to confront truths about their relationship that neither had acknowledged before. I didn't realize how lonely you felt, Daniel admitted during one session. But you have to understand, I wasn't working late because I didn't care. I thought I was building a future for us. Sophia wiped away tears. I know. I should have told you how I felt instead of letting it fester. But that doesn't excuse what I did. I betrayed you, and I don't know if I can ever make it right. The counselor, a patient woman named Dr. Martin, encouraged him to focus on communication and honesty. Rebuilding trust takes time and effort from both sides, she said gently. But the choice to continue or walk away is yours. Daniel wasn't sure if he could ever forgive Sophia, but part of him still loved her. He found himself oscillating between anger and longing, between wanting to move forward and wanting to leave the past behind entirely. Adrian, meanwhile, was dealing with his own fallout. Word of the affair had spread within the office, albeit in whispers and rumors. Daniel hadn't directly exposed him, but his sudden resignation raised questions. Adrian's charm couldn't shield him from the consequences forever. Sophia, racked with guilt, took it upon herself to cut off all contact with Adrian. She blocked his number, deleted their messages, and ignored his attempts to reach out. She also started volunteering at a local shelter, seeking a way to channel her remorse into something positive. One evening, after a particularly tense counseling session, Daniel sat alone in the living room. Sophia hesitated at the doorway, watching him. "Can I join you?" she asked softly. He nodded, and she sat beside him, careful not to invade his space. "Do you think we can ever get past this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Daniel sighed, staring at his hands. "I don't know. I want to believe we can, but it's going to take time. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to look at you the same way." Tears welled up in her eyes. "I'll wait as long as it takes, Daniel. I'll do whatever it takes to earn your trust again." For the first time in weeks, he reached out and took her hand. "I'm not promising anything, but I'm willing to try. Because despite everything, I can't pretend I don't still love you." Sophia broke down, clutching his hand as if it were her lifeline. "Thank you," she whispered. The road ahead was long and uncertain. Trust, once shattered, is difficult to rebuild. But for the first time since the betrayal, there was a glimmer of hope. Would you like to see how their journey unfolds further, or focus on another aspect of the story? The weeks turned into months, and the path to healing was anything but smooth. Some days felt like progress, moments of laughter, shared meals, or quiet evenings where the tension seemed to lift. Other days, the weight of betrayal came crashing back down, with Daniel questioning if he was strong enough to stay, and Sophia overwhelmed by guilt and shame. Their counseling sessions began to uncover layers of their relationship that neither had fully understood before. "Daniel," Dr. Martin said during one session, "you've mentioned feeling betrayed not just by Sophia, but also by the time and effort you invested in the marriage. Can you explain that?" He rubbed his temples, trying to find the right words. "I worked so hard to provide for us, to make her happy, and to find out that she turned to someone else. Someone I trusted, it makes me feel like everything I did wasn't enough." Sophia interjected, her voice trembling. "It wasn't about you not being enough. It was about me not being honest with what I needed. I should have told you I was struggling instead of running away from it." Dr. Martin nodded. "That honesty is crucial moving forward. Trust can't be rebuilt unless both of you are willing to confront not just a betrayal, but the issues that led to it." One evening, as they sat on the couch watching an old movie they used to love, Daniel broke the silence. "Why him?" Sophia looked down at her hands, struggling to answer. He gave me attention in a way that I hadn't felt in a long time. He made me feel desirable. But it was a lie, Daniel. None of it was real. I see that now." Her honesty hurt, but Daniel appreciated it. "I can't stop thinking about it sometimes," he admitted. "The images, the conversations you must have had. It eats at me." "I know," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "And I hate that I caused this pain. But I'm here, and I'll keep being here, no matter how long it takes for you to heal." Gradually, small gestures began to mend the broken pieces. Daniel would leave a note on the fridge wishing her a good day, and Sophia would cook his favorite meal just because. They started going on walks together, talking about everything and nothing, finding comfort in each other's presence. But the true test came when Daniel received an unexpected email. It was from Adrian. The message was short and carefully worded. Daniel, I want to apologize for what happened. I deeply regret the pain I caused. If you're willing, I'd like to meet and talk. No excuses, just an apology, Daniel stared at the screen, torn. Part of him wanted to delete the message and pretend it never existed. Another part, however, felt that confronting Adrian might bring closure. When he showed the email to Sophia, her face turned pale. You don't have to meet him, she said quickly. You don't owe him anything. I know, Daniel replied, but maybe I owe it to myself. The decision wasn't easy, but Daniel agreed to meet Adrian at a neutral location, a quiet cafe far from the office where it all began. Adrian arrived first, looking visibly uncomfortable. Gone was the confident, charming boss Daniel once admired. He looked smaller somehow, humbled. Daniel, Adrian began, standing awkwardly as Daniel approached the table. Sit, Daniel said, his tone firm. Adrian did as instructed, clasping his hands nervously. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need to say this. I'm sorry. I crossed a line that should never have been crossed. I hurt you, your marriage, and I regret it every day. Daniel studied him, his expression unreadable. Why did you do it? Adrian sighed. I let my ego get the best of me. I saw something I wanted and didn't think about the consequences. It was selfish, and I was wrong. For a moment, Daniel said nothing. Then he leaned back in his chair. Your apology doesn't fix anything, Adrian. It doesn't erase what happened, but I'll accept it for myself, not for you, because I'm not carrying this anger any longer. Adrian nodded, his shoulders sagging with relief. Thank you. When Daniel returned home, Sophia was waiting, her anxiety written all over her face. How did it go? She asked hesitantly. It's done, he said simply. I've let it go. For the first time in a long while, Daniel felt a sense of peace. The wounds were still there, but they didn't feel as raw. As he sat down beside Sophia, he reached for her hand. We've got a long way to go, he said, but I think we're going to make it. Tears filled her eyes as she squeezed his hand. Thank you for giving us a chance. Continue.